When nature strikes at the loo, a woman's terrifying encounter with a toilet-dwelling rat late one evening in Wakefield, a routine bathroom break turned into a moment of sheer horror for one unsuspecting resident. As she settled onto the toilet, a chilling sensation ran down her leg. Something cold, wet, and whiskery had brushed against her skin. A blood-curdling scream echoed through the house, prompting her husband to rush in and discover the source of her terror: an upside-down rat, trapped at the bottom of the bowl. Known locally as the Yorkshire Rat Wrangler, 30-year-old Kieran Sampler arrived on the scene within minutes. Founder of Creepiest Control, Kieran has built a thriving business across South and West Yorkshire by specializing in humane, dog-assisted rodent removal. He recalls his astonishment at this particular job. The rat had navigated the sewage lines, reversed course up a secondary drain, and emerged in the toilet while the homeowner was perched precariously above it, rejecting the cruel cage traps and slow-acting poisons favored by many. Kieran employs his 2 Lakeland Terriers, Poppy and Penny, as a living early warning system. These tenacious dogs are trained to pinpoint a rat's hiding place and flush it out, allowing Kieran to dispatch the intruder swiftly and humanely. Watching a rat succumb instantly is more merciful than leaving it to writhe from a toxic bait, he explains. Over the past few months, Vermeekier has been inundated with calls. Farmers booking their winter pest control up to 2 months in advance. Rats breed rapidly and seek shelter in dense undergrowth, beneath decking and in corners where household refuse accumulates. Kieran stresses that autumn foliage offers ideal cover, while unsecured bird feeders and unattended pet droppings provide easy meals. Drains, too, are a common entry point. Compromised seals or cracked pipes allow rats to follow human waste upstream, sometimes culminating in startling toilet appearances. Kieran's career has gifted him with tales that sound more like urban myth than reality. He once retrieved a rodent from the toe of a muddy Wellington boot left by a garden gate. Another time, a pair of teenagers discovered a rat sheltering behind the insulated panel of their hot tub. Wardrobes have concealed entire nests woven from discarded clothing. Tumble dryers have harbored rodents in their lint chambers. And dog beds have hidden furry squatters beneath a layer of fur and stuffing. Each story underscores the relentless resourcefulness of these creatures and the importance of vigilance. As colder weather approaches, Kieran urges homeowners to clear back overgrown shrubs, secure gaps under decking, and attend promptly to any damage around drains or pipes. Prevention isn't glamorous, but it's far less traumatic than finding a rat swimming at your feet, he laughs. With his 4-legged partners at his side, however, he remains ready to turn up at any hour, armed with nothing more lethal than a pair of eager terriers and a deep understanding of rat behavior. The legends of Cropsey in New York may send chills down your spine. The urban legend of Cropsey in Staten Island, New York, is based on a real-life child murderer named Andre Rand. Fans of the macabre know that there are many creepy urban legends in New York. After all, we're the home of Sleepy Hollow and the Headless Horseman. One particularly spooky Empire State tale that has haunted children for generations is that of Cropsey. Stories ran rampant about this Staten Island maniac that dragged children back to his abandoned hospital lair. But did you know that there was actually some element of truth to the stories of Cropsey? A real-life child murderer did exist in the area, and he wasn't just an imaginary fantasy featured in several horror films. Legends of Cropsey first popped up in the 1970s. It was rumored that he was an escaped patient from a mental asylum in Staten Island who roamed neighborhoods hunting for children to abduct and kill. It was rumored that he dragged children back to the asylum to torture and kill them. The stories were whispered by children over campfires and were not particularly noteworthy. There are urban legends everywhere, and many places have supposed boogeymen who abduct children in the night. But in the 1980s, the story of Cropsey took a terrifying turn when children and young adults actually began disappearing around. Staten Island, the culprit, was discovered to be an employee at the Willowbrook State School, an institution for children with developmental disabilities. Andre Rand, a janitor at the school, was homeless and living in a homemade tent on the grounds of the institution. It was discovered that he kidnapped and killed a young girl with Down syndrome who resided at the institution. He was also suspected to have murdered several other disabled children and young adults in the area, though their bodies were never found. There was not enough evidence to convict Rand of any of the murders, but he was sentenced for several counts of kidnapping. He will not be eligible for parole until 2037, when he will be 93 years old. Aerial view of a large correctional facility surrounded by green grass and a river, with city buildings in the background. Have you heard of this urban legend in New York? And did you know there was a real-life killer that was eerily similar? Several horror films were inspired by the legend of Cropsey. There's even a documentary based on Andre Rand entitled Cropsey. Did a man die demonstrating a window strength? A Toronto lawyer demonstrating the safety of window panes in a skyscraper ironically plunged through a window to his death. It isn't often we have occasion to employ the term accidental self-defenestration in an article. But that phrase certainly applies to the case of Gary Hoy, 38-year-old lawyer with the Toronto law firm of Holden Day Wilson, who on the 9th of July 1993 plunged to his death from the 24th floor of the Toronto Dominion Bank Tower building at TD Centre in front of several horrified witnesses. Police said a lawyer demonstrating the safety of windows in a downtown Toronto skyscraper crashed through a pane with his shoulder and plunged 24 floors to his death. A police spokesman said Gary Hoy fell into the courtyard of the Toronto Dominion Bank Tower early Friday evening as he was explaining the strength of the building's windows to visiting law students. Hoy previously had conducted demonstrations of window strength, according to police reports. Peter Lowers, managing partner of the firm Holden Day Wilson, told the Toronto Sun newspaper that Hoy was one of the best and brightest members of the 200-man association. For motivations that remain unclear to this day, Hoy had apparently developed a fondness for showing off the tensile strength of office building windows and/or demonstrating his fearless trust in that aspect of building design by running and hurling himself at window panes in front of onlookers who would watch a stunt that always ended with Hoy's bouncing off of the window panes, leaving both glass and lawyer unharmed. On a fateful day in 1993, however, Hoy attempted his feat in front of a group of prospective legal apprentices with disastrous results. Apparently, the first attempt came off as usual, with Hoy harmlessly rebounding off the window. But when Hoy threw himself against the pane a second time, it popped out of its frame and sent Hoy fatally tumbling 24 stories to the courtyard below. The firm's spokesperson said Hoy was testing the strength of the window. There was a lot of joking about how the window wouldn't open maybe on a hot day. Apparently it was the second attempt at testing the window that one of them popped out and he went through. As well, a Toronto police officer reported that Hoy was showing his knowledge of the tensile strength of window glass, and presumably the glass gave way. I know the frame and the blinds are still there. As the Torontos reported of the incident years later, we can never know what motivated Hoy: a desire to prove the robustness of modern construction techniques, whimsy, or just simply showing off. We do know that his early demise could have been avoided had he left the testing to the experts, or consulted with structural engineer Bob Greer, who later told the Toronto Star, "I do and know of any building code in the world that would allow a 160-pound man to run up against a glass and withstand it." Sadly, Hoy's tragic accident led not only to his own demise, but was also a contributing factor in the closure a few years later of the firm that had employed him. Prior to 2007, the biggest law firm to shut down was Toronto-based Holden Day Wilson, LLP. In 1996, Holden Day at its peak had 90 lawyers after a merger in 1990. But the firm was devastated in 1993 by a fatal accident involving popular partner Gary Hoy, who playfully took a run at a window during a reception at the Toronto Dominion Centre. In front of dozens of lawyers, the window gave way, and Mr. Hoy fell to his death 24 floors below. The combined challenge of recovering from Mr. Hoy's death and holding together a newly merged firm proved too great for Holden Day's partners. By 1996, more than 30 partners had left the firm, and Holden Day closed its doors amid controversy about unpaid bills and compensation. The body under the bed. A vacationing couple staying in a foul-smelling motel room discovered a body hidden under their bed. On the 10th of July 2003, a man checked into the Capri Motel, just east of downtown Kansas City, and began complaining about a foul odor in his room. Management told him nothing could be done about the problem, and he spent 3 nights in his room before checking out, because he could no longer stand the smell. When the cleaning staff came in to make up the room on the 13th of July, they lifted the mattress and underneath found a man's body in an advanced stage of decomposition. On the 10th of June 1999, the rapidly decomposing remains of 64-year-old Saul Hernandez were discovered inside the bed in room 112 at the Burgundy Motor Inn in Atlantic City, New Jersey. A German couple had spent the night sleeping over Hernandez's remains, and it was their complaint to the manager about the smell in their room, which led to the discovery of the corpse. One of the oldest smelly body left under the bed sightings comes from 1982. Richard Kuklinski, Daniel Deppner, and Gary Smith often teamed together to run auto theft scams. Kuklinski and Deppner decided to kill Smith, and they accomplished this by feeding him a cyanide-laced hamburger in a North Bergen, New Jersey motel room. Kuklinski finished off Smith by strangling him when watching Smith die of poisoning proved tiresome. Smith's body was stuffed under the bed and left there. It was found 4 days later, on the 27th of December 1982. During the intervening 4 days, the room had been rented to others each night. Guests had wrinkled their noses at the smell, but none thought to look under the bed.